Hello everyone, in this video we are going to see about the CPU scheduling algorithms for preemptive systems or the interactive systems. Actually what is interactive system is, it is like an time sharing system where the time is shared between the different users. So interactive system is it is opposite to the batch system. So when you say it is a batch system, the system continuously does the process. When it is interactive system, means system will break the execution in between for some reason. Okay, that is called as an interactive system. Okay, so last video we have seen about some algorithms, FCFS and SJF, that is the first come first serve and shortest job algorithm. These algorithms are used in the batch system. That means once they are assigned to the queue, it will be done. When it is enters the ready queue, it will be done completely and it will come out of the queue. Likewise, the shortest job first job also. But the difference here is they are based upon the arrival of the job in the ready queue. But now this video we are going to see other three algorithms, which is RR, that is round robin, priority algorithms and multiple queues. Okay, so they all come under the scheduling and the interactive systems. So now let us see first about the round robin algorithm. The round robin algorithm, the basic key point is the time quantum. That actually what does it mean is, a process gets some time quantum amount of time, maybe a few milliseconds or a microseconds time quantum to do the process, and then next process gets its turn, that will get the time quantum. Likewise they are go in the round robin. That means every process will be processed for some defined unit of time, which is the time quantum. So in this case every process will have the turns and the process will be moving. Okay, so now here when you say about the time quantum availability, you can see here when there are n processes in the ready queue and the time quantum is q, then each process gets 1 by n of the CPU time. So it is obvious that there are n processes in the ready queue, so one process will get the CPU by 1 by nth of the time, okay, in the quantum of q time at once. Then when it is not over, it will again get into the queue for the remaining processes. No process waits more than n minus 1 into q time unit. That means the waiting time of the remaining process will be controlled. So it will come out of the problem of starvation. That means sometimes some processes wait long time for the resources to be received, so they have the situation called starvation. Okay, so this will be removed in this round robin technique. So here of how the performance will be, when the queue is large, we'll move with the first in first out algorithm. When the queue is small, so that means the queue must be large with respect to the context switch. Actually what is context switch is one process is moving to the other process. So when they are moving to the other processes, after some quantum of time, it has to store its address, store everything, store all the status of the register of the current process and move to the next process. So that is called as in context switching. So when the context switch is too high, in the sense it will be a too overhead for the system. What is overhead is storing the address and then again keeping track of the current register values and going to the next program, and that is called context switching. So if the context switch is too high, the performance will be an overhead to the system, the performance will be affected. So we have to see that the queue is not very small. Okay, if it is very small, it keeps on context switching. So we have to make it little bit a reasonable amount of time quantum to get the process to be processed in the queues. Okay, so now next we will see how the Gantt chart of this that is round robin works. So here we always talk about the time quantum measure. So here processes P1, P2 and P3 are here. The burst time are the 24, 3 and 3, but the quantum allotted is 4. That means every process will get 4 quantum of time. So P1 comes to the arrive first to the queue, but the quantum is 4. So we can see here P1 starts from 0th unit of time and ends by 4 unit of time. So because the quantum is 4, next P2 has to be served, but P2 is only 3 is the burst time. So if it is less, means there is no other go. Naturally the 3 units will be completely processed. So 4 plus 3 is 7, and then next process it is completed. There is no remaining quantum for this P2, but P1 has remaining quantum of 20, because only 20 out of 24 only 4 is satisfied now, so 20 is remaining in this process, but in the case of P2, the 3 is fully served because the time quantum itself it's 4. And then coming to the next process P3, again the time quantum is P3, so again it is fully serviced because the time quantum is more than the process best time, so the process is fully satisfied. Now P2 and P3 is over, but P1 has remaining work to be done. So how it will be divided? Again in the burst of 4, 4 and 4 time quantum. So you can see here, initially 4, second process came 4 plus 3 7, third process came 7 plus 3 10. Afterwards P2 and P3 job is over. Now P1 gets the turn, so 4 units of time, 10 plus 4 is 14. Again P2 and P3 is not available because it is over, so P1 again has to get its turn, so 4 quantum, so 14 plus 4 is 18. Again P1's remaining is there, 18 plus 4 is 22. Till remaining process is there, 22 plus 4 is 26, and still 26 plus 4 is 30. So when the 30 is over, that means the full time quantum of the process P1 is serviced. Okay, so this is how the Gantt chart of the round robin technique looks like. It is divided into the value of the quantum numbers. So here, what is the advantage here is higher average turnaround time than the shortest job first, but better response. So better response means every job is aware that my process is done for some time. Okay, so that is the advantage of this round robin technique. Now coming to the context switch time, Q should be large compared to the context switch time. So that means Q is the time quantum that should be larger than the context switch time. So for example, Q is usually of milliseconds, where context switch is of microseconds, 10 microseconds. Okay, so now let us see the Gantt chart, how the time quantum and the context switch time varies. Suppose there is a process of burst time 10 and the quantum is given 12. So the quantum is more, process time is 10 only, less than 12. So at the stretch the process, this process can be serviced. So there is no context switch. Simply at a stretch it is done. So no context switch is here. Now if the quantum is 6, you see what is happening. The quantum is 6, the process is serviced for 6 units of time. Then that is one context switch. So remaining 4 is there. So that will be a context switch. So 6 plus 4 is 10. So initially 6 unit of time will be under the process will be processed under this time, and then this is one context switch. So this is the one context switch. Then if the quantum is 1, what will happen? It has to context switch for 9 times. How 9? Initially this is the first stretch. Now 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So 9 times the context switch has to happen. Okay, so now this chart will give you the idea about if the quantum size is very little, how often the context switch happen. If that happens always, it is an overhead for the system. So the system has to have some medium level of quantum numbers, then only we have minimum number of context switches. Okay, so now next is the algorithm is the multiple queue, that is the multi-level queue. So what is multi-level queue is, you can see the diagram over here. Every process has some level of the queue. So interactive process which is having the higher priority, this is also called as a highest priority queue. Okay, priority algorithm. So this system processes is given the highest priority, and then interactive processes, and then interactive editing processes, batch processes and student processes. So they are given this type of priority in the different queues. So this is one different queue, another different queue, and queues are different. Okay, so that is called multiple queue scheduling. So here we have two separate queues to say foreground process and background processes. So foreground processes are interactive processes where the user can interact. What is background processes? Like a database activity which is happening in the background. Okay, so in this particular method, process is permanently given to the queue. Okay, and then every process has its own scheduling algorithm. Every queue has its own scheduling algorithm, means one queue has its round robin, one queue has first in first out, one queue has shortest job. It depends upon the nature of the job. Okay, and then there is some fixed priority scheduling must be done between the queues in order to avoid the possibility of starvation. And then time slice, what is time slice is that amount of time the CPU is serviced to the process is called as a time slice. Okay, so normally 80% of the job CPU time is given to the foreground processes and 20% is given to the background processes. Okay, this is one ratio given for some scenario. Okay, so now we can see the next variation from the multi-level queue, which is the multi-level feedback queue. The main difference is the process can move between the various queues. So there it is not permanent, this is a temporary. That means what happens means once the process is serviced in the queue, after some time the process will be shifted to other queue based upon the necessity. So in this way they can avoid the aging. What is aging is a process waiting in the queue for a long time without being processed is all called as an aging. So in order to avoid this aging, this process can be moved to multiple queues. That means if one queue is busy, other processes are waiting in the queue for a long time, they can shift to some other queue, so they can be serviced. But this is similar to the billing counter where we go to the malls. When there is a long queue in the one counter, we are asked to shift to the next counter, which is the short counter. Likewise, this is now the queues are shifted, the process are shifted between the queues. That is called as a multi-level feedback queue scheduler. Why feedback scheduler? The feedback says that this particular queue is not able to be processed immediately, so it will take some more time for the process to get done. So we can move to, so it is giving some feedback to say that some process is waiting for a long time, some process is in hurry to wait to do its operation. So those feedbacks helps to change the process from one queue to the other queue. That is called as a multi-level feedback queues. So these are some parameters that defines the movement between the queues. So now how many number of queues available, what is the algorithm for each queue it is given, how to upgrade, when to upgrade the process, when to demote the process. What is upgrade and demote is when to keep this process in the same queue, or how to shift the process to some other queues based upon the feedback. And then finally, methods that used to determine which queue a process will enter when that process needs the service. So depending upon the service required also, the process may be shifted to multiple queues. So these are all about the concept behind the multi-level feedback queues as well as the multiple queues. So here you can see the feedback is arranged over here. Okay, that means the process are shifted between the queues. You can see here initially Q0 having 8 milliseconds of quantum number, and then Q1 is having 16 seconds of quantum time, and Q2 is using the FCFS. So first a job enters the Q0, it acquires some 8 quantum of CPU service. It is not yet over, so let it move to the next queue. There you can get 16 quantum number of quantum time of service for the process. Even if it is not over in this level also, let it go to the first come first served. Likewise, the processes move between the multiple queues. This is the example of multi-level feedback queues. You can see the difference. Just I am showing the diagram for your convenience. This is the multi-level queue scheduling. They are fixed. There is no feedback over here. Everything is fixed. But in the case of multi-level feedback, you can see the feedback from one queue to the other queue. So that's all about the multi-level feedback queue scheduling of the CPU. So hope you understood the logic behind these CPU scheduling algorithms. And thanks for watching.